Let me be honest, it wasn't easy writing this book. I am not the most disciplined wordsmith who puts in a hard daily grind whether my creative juices are flowing or not. I need to be in the mood and feel the urge, and sometimes months would go by without writing a paragraph. But in the end, I knew that if I was ever to get this thing finished, I'd have to knuckle down and go through the labor pains until my baby was pushed out of the womb and into the hands of the midwife, my publishing company. Now I was free of it and felt like celebrating. For some reason, I felt an urge to walk in the footsteps of one of the central characters in the book, Thobekile, not just in my imagination, but to actually visit some of the places that made a deep impression on her and helped to shape her thinking. So in this short film, I invite you to accompany me. I want it to be a fun thing, a mixture of adventure, holiday, maybe even pilgrimage, a quest to discover once again the innocence, resilience, and the freedom of Thobekile's childhood, and maybe in our own too, and see what happens when she is faced by the hard and bitter facts of history. So join me on this crazy journey and see where it leads us. It's just part of the fall. Part of the fall. As the copy overlooking the battlefield comes into sight, and I prepare myself to see the place where my brave ancestors confronted the invading British Army, I'm once more compelled to stop and feel myself invited to get out and contemplate a carpet of tiny purple flowers that seem to beckon me with their beauty, to draw near and listen with my heart. What is it they want to say, I wonder? Purple is the color of sorrow, but it is also the symbol of hope and advent, waiting for the blessing that will surely come, but is not yet. And as I watch, they seem to point me to the mountain. I share their joy, but experience a certain foreboding. You know that you'll never fall, 'cause you're standing tall like that waterfall. As I walk through the battlefield, dotted with the mass graves of the English soldiers, marked now only with the heaps of white stones, I feel a great anxiety growing within me until I experience the reassuring hand of Steve Biko calming me down, and together we climb the mountain. So today I'm here at Isandlwana, a place where I have learned self-love and courage and pride. I'm just here to sort of like find myself in this place and to sort of like, be in the same land where my ancestors faced the enemy eye to eye, regardless of the fact that they had the big guns and they had the big machines to destroy them, but they still stood up and took their spears and went forward, man. They went forward and they fought, and it just tells you, it just shows you the courage that we have as the black people. That's why I'm here today, just to be in the presence, of those people who do not allow fear to take over them and let go of what was most precious to them, their cattle and their land. They fought for it. They fought for it, and they won because they believed in themselves. And I find it amazing, and it feels nice. It feels good to be here. It feels good to see all the rolling hills of KwaZulu-Natal in their perfect form, man. They're just in their perfect form, man. And it's been raining these days, so there's so much greenery. I just can't help but think of back in the day, that my people were living. Just seeing this, it tells me that my people were civilized before everything. My people were living. My people were very much connected to nature, and they had this kind of give and take with nature. Because when we're driving here, we saw cattle, very healthy cattle. We saw very well kept homesteads. We saw plots of millies. So all those kind of scenes just take me back. Just take me back to those times, where my people were living and life was beautiful. And I kind of I'm actually experiencing that beauty of life just by being here. When we were coming here, I said, I don't want the stereo on. I don't want the radio on. I just wanted to the quietness and just take in what I was seeing and just visualize, just visualize life, just visualize life back then, man. Visualize life. Yeah, visualize Zululand before everything happened, before the land was taken away from us. What I love about this place is that it happened, yes, but I know that we didn't just give it away. We fought it. They say this river turned red with the blood of 1,000 Zulu warriors, cut to pieces by grape shot and cannon fire and the Gatling gun. Maybe that is why the willows hang their branches in sorrow. They weep for all those men who lost their lives. Today, we follow Thobekile's footsteps to Ngcobo, or Blood River as the white folks calls it. The battle this time is between the Zulus and an invading Afrikaner force, and this time it was the Zulus who were massacred by superior firepower. So perhaps that is why the day is dull and overcast. This is where our ancestors fought and died for us on the 16th day of December 1838, the headmaster told them. After that, the bus took them a kilometer or two upstream to a bridge where they crossed over and drove down to the lager on the other side. The headmaster explained that the voetrekkers, as the Afrikaners called themselves, felt that they were oppressed by the British in the Cape and had traveled north in search of land to settle down on. That was what brought them to Zululand, and when they could not get it by peaceful means, they had decided to fight for it. And they believed that it was God who gave them the victory and vowed to make that day sacred until the end of time. But he doubted God had anything to do with it. The real reason why they defeated the Zulus was their superior weaponry, especially the 2 artillery pieces, which decimated the warriors when it sprayed them with deadly grape shot. The boys and girls enjoyed themselves playing around the wagons and were quite sleepy when the headmaster said it was time to get on the bus for home. Before they left, he reminded them of the long struggle for freedom and that when it was achieved, President Mandela had allowed the Afrikaners to keep their holy day, but had changed it into the day of reconciliation to be celebrated by all the people in South Africa. We were to learn from history, but not to become embittered by it. In the end, as Madiba taught us, there had to be forgiveness. Thobekile, however, was not in a forgiving mood. The thought that the land of a people had been taken away from them by force and had left them destitute till this very day disturbed her greatly. Thobekile couldn't settle herself enough to sleep. There was too much stuff churning within her from her exposure of the cruel history of her people to even think about sleeping. She almost forgot about her companion as she stared out the window and shifted around uncomfortably in her seat until she heard Skhumbuzo say, "Are you alright, Thobekile?" It was the way he said it that made her turn around and look at him. His tone was soft and gentle, not the laughing, mocking voice that usually nettled her so much. "What is upsetting you so much?" he inquired in a caring manner. "It is so unfair," she blurted out. "How could they do this to us?" And before she knew it, she was pouring out her grief and hurt and the whole jumble of crazy thoughts that filled her mind. They treated us as if we were termites instead of human beings. They killed us with their big guns and took what was not theirs. Are their hearts made of stone? Have they no Ubuntu? Why did God not stop them? Does he not care about us? Does he hate us because we are black? Is he only the God of the white people? Until eventually the words dissolved into tears and she buried her head into Skhumbuzo's shoulder as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Bhambayi still looked very much the way she remembered it. From the vantage point on the hill across the valley, it resembled garbage on a landfill site. There appeared to be no plan or design to the settlement, just a jumble of run-down rusty shacks thrown together in a hurry, with sheets of colored plastic flapping in the window frames and old tires and rocks littered on the rooftops, to save them from being ripped off when the storms came and the winds blew and the lightning struck. On Google Maps, it appears only as a tight squiggle of thin little lines without name or detail, just beyond the more ordered grid of the township. Yet Bhambayi once had its moment in the world's limelight, for it was here that Mahatma Gandhi built his ashram and founded a community dedicated to living out the highest human and Hindu ideals and values. But all that was 100 years ago, and now all traces of its existence lay long buried under ashes. It is a sad fact of history that when great oppression takes place, it is the poor who turn on the poor rather than on the real instigators of their trouble. And that is what happened to Bhambayi and the dream of a just and equitable society envisioned by Gandhi. In the midst of the violence that accompanied the introduction of apartheid, crowds of landless and impoverished Zulus attacked the ashram, burnt it to the ground, and chased away the Indian community in the ensuing scramble for a piece of land to call home. The invaders quickly stacked their claims and threw up makeshift shelters. All subsequent attempts to remove them failed, and thus was born the Bhambayi of today, a chaos of roughly constructed shacks with no proper planning, no plumbing, no adequate roads or services. An African slum, dusty in the dry season and muddy in the rains, the only home the poor could afford.
Hi guys, it's been a hectic couple of days. Me trying to go around to a different scenery where the novel takes place. So today I'm here at the Drakensberg in Kahlamba, and I just thought I should read you guys something from the last chapter of the novel. Amanda promised to call her friends together and take Bongiwe with them for a short holiday in the Drakensberg to give her the rest and change of scenery that she needed. She had been there for a lawyers' convention a year or so earlier and had fallen in love with the place. "You'll love it," she said as she drove up the N3 motorway for a couple of hours before turning off it and heading for the mountains, now clearly visible on the horizon. "We'll be there in an hour or so. I think it is the place where God sat down on the seventh day and looked at what he had made and said that it was very good." They passed through rural communities with homesteads spread out over the hills with the beautiful Zulu thatches gleaming gold in the morning sun. "Oh, Nkosi yami, Noxolo gasped. It is really heaven compared to the squalor of Bhambayi. Some of the houses were perched precariously on high ridges and seemed to be in danger of tumbling down the almost vertical slopes into the river in the valley far below. They descended steeply into the valley, the road hugging the contours of the mountainside. After they crossed a narrow concrete bridge over a fast-flowing river, Amanda pulled the car into a lay-by and invited her companions to clamber down through the huge boulders to the waterside and just allow the magnificence of the surroundings to impact upon them. The water was cold and crystal clear and made a happy noise of gurgles and splashes as it dashed along its way down the valley and out into a wide plain. They stayed there, breathing in wonder of the place, until Noxolo announced that she was getting hungry, and the four girls scrambled back up the river bank and into the car. 15 minutes later, they drove into Didima and presented themselves at reception to get the keys of the 2-bedroom cottage assigned to them. "It is like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse," Bongiwe said with a smile on her face, referring to the quaint shape of the cottages with their high thatch roof designed to harmonize with the surrounding hills. She was well acquainted with Mickey's world from watching endless cartoons with her children. They were almost the first words she had spoken since leaving Durban, and Amanda felt encouraged that the beauty of the surrounding was already exercising its healing power upon her troubled friend. Indeed, they all needed a lift, so after lunch, they set out to explore the camp.
Gate is closed. Trespassing.